let me ask you, does the first angel's message identify God's remnant people on this earth? It most certainly does. They are people who have a deep respect and awe for God, and they keep His commandments. They are people who say we're supposed to care for our minds and for our bodies. They are people who say that we need to reflect the wonderful character of God to the world. They are people who say that we are now in the hour of God's judgment. Nothing that people are judged when they die or when Jesus comes. The judgment is taking place now. There are people who say that the dead know nothing until the moment of the resurrection. There are people who teach that we're supposed to keep the Sabbath in honor of the Creator. This is the first angel's message. But then we have a second message. The second angel's message. The second angel's message actually speaks about Babylon. And Babylon is the opposite of the first angel's message. Now, we're going to discover, as we study along, that Babylon has three parts. And a little bit later on in this lecture, we're going to review what these three parts represent. The Bible tells us that Babylon is composed of the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. Revelation chapter 16 and verse 13. Now, Revelation 17 presents it with different terminology. Revelation 17, instead of the beast, speaks about the harlot. Instead of speaking about the false prophet, it speaks about the daughters of the harlot. And instead of speaking about the dragon, it speaks about the kings of the earth with which the harlot fornicates or has illicit relations. And so the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet are spoken of in Revelation 17 as the harlot, her daughters, and the kings of the earth. And the second angel's message tells us that Babylon, this threefold system, is fallen. And it tells us the reason why Babylon fell. It says there in Revelation 14 verse 8 that Babylon is fallen because she has given all nations to drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Her fall is due to the fact that she gave the nations her wine. Now, we've studied what the wine of Babylon represents. In fact, we dedicated a whole lecture just to talk about the wine of Babylon. And we noticed that the wine of Babylon represents her false practices and her counterfeit doctrines. Doctrines such as the idea that Sunday is holy. Doctrines such as the idea that it's possible for the living to speak to the dead or to pray for the dead. Such as the idea that it doesn't matter what you eat or what you drink. Such as the idea that saying that God's law was nailed to the cross. Such as the idea that God throws the wicked into an eternally burning hell. We studied all of this from the Bible when we dealt with the wine of Babylon. In other words, what I'm saying is that the wine of Babylon is the opposite of the first angel's message. You see, the first angel's message presents, if you please, the wine of God, the unfermented wine of God. You see, the wine of God doesn't make people drunk. The wine of God makes people sober. And so when you drink God's wine,